I had the ability to do this with Flippa, and I felt like there was a platform for me to explain the background of the business. And as I learned from a previous business selling experience, you have to be very, very, very transparent and very, very honest, because the moment you kind of try to pretend that something is what it's not, or you try to like boost something that's really not your accomplishment or not a really positive thing, people see through it and they get turned off right away.
Hey everybody, I am Ben Weiss from Flippa, and this is Humans of Flippa. I'm joined today by my good buddy, Alex, who recently, a couple months ago, sold your yoga mats site on the platform. So thanks for joining today. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, buddy Ben. Doing great, actually. Yeah, it was 1 month since we closed the sale. Since I closed the sale, and it's kind of nice to reflect now, because usually that's the amount of time you get to see how you communicate with the buyer afterwards. And I think I have my closure also as far as how it went.
Absolutely, it is an exciting time. Sometimes I hate interrupting people like after a good sale to be like, hey, you want to come talk to me, or do you want to just go enjoy life? But thanks for coming.
I think it's better to interrupt people after a good sale than after a bad sale.
That's true. It's very true. It's very true. So let's get to know you a little bit. You and I have interacted a lot through the course of your sale, so I've got to know you. But what's your story a little bit? Like, how did you come to build this business in the first place? It's about 3 years old or something.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of background on the business and my overall experience. So about maybe 3.5 years ago, I found myself working in a corporate setting, which I was not so into, and wanted to do something on my own, and started getting involved with e-commerce and learning more about it, which came pretty natural to me. I'm very detail oriented, so I kind of had this mentality of like, I want to build a business on the side that could work. So Kickstarter at the time was a very hot thing. It still is in many ways, but it changed a lot. And I figured that if I make a good product and I'm able to put it on Kickstarter, it's going to hopefully do well. So I invested some money, and I found out about this website called 99 Designs, which they're able to, you put it up on a competition, any artwork, any design, anything you want. And I had kind of this vision of what I would want for a yoga mat. Yoga mat was something that I was trying to buy for my wife, and I found that there's somewhat of a gap in the market where they didn't have like good quality yoga mats that looked good. They had, at the time, there was nothing that had any artistic touch. There were some kind of like very hallucinogenic, like very intense designs that you found, like a lion jumping out of an eye, like the stuff that people in asset probably really appreciate. But there was nothing that I saw that would be good for like an average consumer, which I guess my wife would fall in that category. Something good looking. And I think some of the mats that they made at the time, most of them obviously were made in China, but a lot of designs were made by the manufacturers that are probably not so savvy or don't know always the dynamic of the American consumer, this market. So a lot of designs just looked like someone just slapped something on and shipped it out, just that. And I said, okay, maybe there's something that could be nice. I used 99 Designs, put up this competition, found a very talented designer who put together these beautiful designs with they kind of looked like tattoos in their styling, and I thought that would be great. The koi fish, and they also became like, they were monochromatic, so you have like a certain color kind of correspond to each one. A lot of people
like a series, yeah.
Right. So and I built a series. I built a pack of 6, put it up on Kickstarter, shot a very nice video for it here in New York, and it did pretty decent. I raised close to 30,000. Which given the money that I already put in, it wasn't anything crazy at all. But it got me to the place where I wanted to be, which is to basically build a store and transition into that. I didn't have so much experience at the time. I took this venture on, more full time, and got really involved with it. And then something happened in a more personal setting. A good friend of mine had a business that was already, it was a drop shipping business actually at the time. We ended up moving it later on buying inventory here in America. But basically, he needed a partner in this business. He had some debt that accumulated and some issues with the business, but the business was very high in revenue and there was a lot of potential. So I decided at the time, I'm going to take Artletica. I don't know if I actually mentioned that's the name of the brand of my yoga mats. Not mine anymore, thank God. But at the time, Artletica, I said, you know what? I have everything built out. I built all the assets. I built a company. I got a trademark. I got all the social media kind of stuff. And all I need to do is just give it attention. But I'm going to put it on the side now because I want to help out my friend, because that seemed like a very real and great opportunity, and an opportunity also to get experience. It became this something that I invested and I had to decide, but it produced no sales almost. I mean, there were times where the sales were basically just came from, I guess, word of mouth from Kickstarter, because there would be periods where I didn't run any Facebook traffic for 3-4 months at all. And then, you have 2-3 sales a week, which is, again, not a lot. It's very weak if you want to consider that a business. But it was producing sales, which was a testimony to me that it's a good product and I built something there. So there's a few times that I got involved with them. Some agencies didn't have a good experience. Tried to run Facebook ads myself. And as many people that are listening to this right now might know, you could burn through cash pretty fast if you really don't know what you're doing, which I did. So in some level, I kind of got burnt out with it, and I had inventory, and I knew that everything's in place as far as the business goes. It's a unique situation, and I needed a buyer. I need someone who's going to take the product, the business, and build it up.
Right. So what brought you to Flippa? How'd you find Flippa?
So it's funny, actually. I've been researching. I ended up selling the other business with my partner way prior to this, but we ended up working with a broker at the time. But it was a much bigger business. Artletica was not, in many ways, it was not a business. It was a business, but it didn't have like a very good track record. So there was a lot of places that you would kind of reach out to, and they would say, we need to see this, we need to see that. If you go to a broker, they ask, I think a lot of them won't even look at you if you have a business that's less than 250 or 500,000. So the previous one was done with a broker. It was a great learning experience, but this one I had researched, and I found Flippa, that kind of Flippa gave me the ability to put up the information and kind of express exactly what the situation is. Because if you go online right now and you try to sell a business and you try to evaluate what the value should be, or even to be accepted to the platform, they'll really consider largely only one aspect, and that is, what are your sales?
Right.
What have you done in the last 6 months? What have you done in the last 12 months? And
which is important.
100%. I don't disagree with it. Actually, I think that is the best way to look at it in a concise, quick way.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to see P&L and the profits and see what the whole history of the business and what an inventory. But mine just looked terrible, because even though I built all the pieces, every checkbox was done, it's like I didn't have time to run it. So it was sitting and, for the lack of a better term, collecting dust, unfortunately. So I had the ability to do this with Flippa, and I felt like there was a platform for me to explain the background of the business. And
right.
As I learned from my previous business selling experience, you have to be very, very, very transparent and very, very honest, because the moment you kind of try to pretend that something is what it's not, or you try to like boost something that's really not your accomplishment or not a really positive thing, people see through it and they get turned off right away. And I had comments, people saying like, "Oh, your sales are terrible." I was like, "I know, I mentioned this in the description." So it was a very good experience in the end, but I had to kind of elaborate, put my ego away and say, the reality is, as much as I'm in love with this baby, Artletica, but it's not people, it has a value, obviously, but there is a history to it. So one of the things I would just generally tell people to not feel discouraged is, when you run these evaluation tools that are based on sales and you have some special circumstances like I did, don't be discouraged, because you would end up, my evaluation tools told me, I think, depending on the ones that I tried before, including the Flippas, they would range between like 3,000 and 12,000 or something, right? Which, considering the fact that I had inventory that was worth a lot more, and the enormous assets and the brand built out and already some customer base, that seemed very weak. So I didn't get discouraged, and I told my story on Flippa and ended up selling it for 50,000.
Very cool. And it was, I mean, there were so many interesting things here. We were talking off camera a bit, you know, because, you know, we did discover it, and typically, you know, I was saying to you, the last 12 months of profit is really important to most people who are looking on Flippa, but there is something to like an actual business, like an actual brand that like has power behind that, and you have to kind of dig in sometimes. And you know, we were lucky. You know, I'm not here to plug our ultimate boost or anything, but you know, you purchased one of our marketing boosts, so I got into, you know, started taking a look, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cool. Like I realized that they're only making like a couple $100s a month right now, which is, you know, no one cares about. But like when you dig in, it's worth something. And we started pushing it and telling people about it. And yeah, I mean, $50,000.
100%. You deserve the boost credit.
I'm not trying to pat my
no,
own
no,
back.
100%. I do want to speak about that because I did hesitate as I was looking at it, and I said, you know, it's like I'm just going to put it on the platform. And I've dealt with other things in the past where there's the model where there's a marketplace and there are perks to, you know, highlight it or whatever. Like your listing is gets more attention.
Like editor's choice or whatever. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Those things you never really know because you can't measure as a customer. I can't measure the impact that it's going to make. You just kind of have to make a decision. There was a platform I've used in the past for, let's say, wholesale, that if you become a member, then they're going to boost you and put you in front of buyers, blah, blah, blah. But if you just list, I listed, I didn't use that feature, and I never heard from them. So I'm not saying that Flippa works the same way because there's no way to know for me. But I do know that it tells you how many people get to see your listing and watchers and people market, you know, as you build the listing. I do know that the blast went out with the email blast. There was a huge boost of people reaching out, and you know, we got the editor's choice, and most importantly, I guess, having Ben as a resource has been incredible, because I don't really know as far as these roles the exact parameters of what he's supposed to be doing, but as a representative from Flippa, he's done an amazing job in guiding me in this process.
Oh, well, now I'm just gonna have to send this to my boss. And
yeah,
this is supposed to be for the public. Now it's just for me.
No, it has been great. I'm reflecting because, you know, I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Right now, I just had a good experience, and I think it's important for people to not feel discouraged if their evaluation tool, you know, shows what it shows. If there are special circumstances, if there's not, then that's what it's worth, maybe. But also, there's a lot of wisdom, I think, that comes to selling that I try to delve into, as far as, you know, the auction and the numbers that you could expect and kind of the perception that people have. And for that, it's good to have guidance. I think that having the the ability to reach out and ask questions is great, because that helped me kind of decide how to structure the sale. And I could go into a little bit as well, because I think it will help people. I set the auction for 2 weeks, and I decided for myself that I'm not selling this business for less than 25,000.
Yeah,
because of the inventory, and it just doesn't make sense that it should go for less. And I am putting my time. So what I ended up doing is I actually, as per Ben's advice, I put the starting price at $1, and that created, I guess, a lot of buzz around it, because then you have a lot of bidders, as opposed to, let's say, if I set it at 20 or 25, it could kind of look stale if someone's checking it out. Even though, again, I'm not selling it for $1. I'm not selling it for $5.
Yeah, no one expects that.
Right. So that created a good buzz. Then I had some very productive feedback from your team as far as the actual listing, you know, what to say, what to mention, what's important that you kind of bring up. You don't want to have like holes in the whole thing. You want someone who's actually going to read it will get a very good picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that, and as it went by, I think within a week it was already at like 15,000, and then I had 1 week left. Second week, things got actually a lot more interesting, because my goal was to kind of set the numbers in a way that there will be some kind of bid war,
create some hype. Yeah.
And there was, and it was great. It was probably one of the most exciting things to watch. as you like just sit there like in front of the computer, you refresh the page and you see like this person bid more, and then you're like, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? Oh, and they bid more, and then some people would put it on auto bid. So there was like probably good 50 bids on that listing because they kept outbidding each other, and it was very exciting. With that said, the feature that I like is the buy now. One that I set up also pretty good at 50. And the idea behind it was that as it goes up to 25, 30, let's say it would actually settle at like 40. But if someone has a 50, which is buy now, like kind of guaranteed sale, then you could people would make that leap. That was my expectation. That's exactly what happened. And the not concerning thing, but the interesting thing is that I had buyers reach out after and say, we know that you sold it for 50, and we don't know who it is, obviously, but if it doesn't go through or if there's any issues, please let us know. Which was also very comforting because people buy, I jumped on a number of video calls just like I am right now with the potential buyers and told them my story a little bit. And you don't really know how serious they are until it goes through. You don't really know what's happening. So it did, and it was great. I had a very good buyer who looked into things and loved it. So
yeah, that's fantastic. I do have maybe relatively unique to your sale. I'm just curious personally. So you're selling yoga mats. You yourself are based New York.
Yeah.
You sold it to a guy in Italy.
Right.
How did that work? Like, how did you transfer inventory? Is he still selling the US, or does he take it to Italy? Like, what's going on?
It's a good question. So the guy, he has an SEO company, and he looked up, he does SEO, Facebook ads, I guess, in Italy. His English happens to be not, perfect, but which was also kind of, in some ways, kind of a gap for me to feel comfortable selling because, I don't know who he is. He's from a different country. For all you know, maybe he's not in Italy. He's sitting somewhere else and, scamming people. Who knows? But no, he seemed pretty reasonable. I did some research online. He has an SEO company, and he kind of did research and saw that I haven't done anything with Google at all with yoga mats, which is true. And he, looked into Facebook and saw some flaws and some things that shouldn't have been done. I guess he has
some opportunities, we like to call them. He saw some opportunities.
Some baskets to fill. Yeah. So he ended up, I guess he felt compelled with that. And that's another reason why I mentioned that it's important to be honest, is that, people get very kind of attached to their business and their egos don't let them kind of admit the mistakes they've made. And the problem with that is that if you kind of present it like it was run really well and this is the cap of it, people are going to be like, that's not so exciting. But if you say, look, I made this mistake and this mistake and this mistake, but I built something special, look at it. Then they'll say, wow, you know what? I'm not going to make these stupid mistakes, with all due respect, but I'll make this business really go well. So this is where you want them. You want them to feel, like kind of like, yeah, this what he built is great, but this guy didn't really know what he's doing in marketing or in other aspects, in Facebook ads. Look how much money he wasted. And that way that gives them the boost to do that. So I think that
100%. I give people that advice all the time. I say, don't be ashamed of the issues, because people are almost buying that. They're buying the opportunity to say, oh,
exactly.
I can do that better than this guy. So I'm going to buy this for X amount of money and quickly make it worth more because I know what I'm doing.
You don't want to come off like dysfunctional and say like,
right.
It's like,
but there's nothing wrong with saying, I built this great thing.
I haven't paid any taxes, and there's a lien and a lawsuit right now. And
that's not an opportunity.
That's an opportunity.
But yeah, I think saying like, hey, I have no idea how SEO works, or like, so everything, then people are like, oh, cool, I can quickly like.
Exactly. The truth is that was the reason, I didn't have time to put into it. But back to your question with the Italian friend of ours here, he looked into this, he saw an opportunity, and the way it worked is I didn't want to structure it because of liability and anything it could go after. I didn't want to sell an LLC to a foreign entity or foreign guy because I'm actually not so versed in how this works. So the way I presented it and reached out, explained to him is it's going to be an asset sale. So I'm selling all the inventory I have left, and I will pass on the relationships that I have with the supplier. I will pass on the relationship and that I have with the fulfillment center, and I will give him access to all accounts. In other words, and give him all the assets, the images and videos and everything. So that way, I'm going to close my LLC and have no liability because, the only thing that's physical that remains is that relationship with the fulfillment center.
Right.
And these guys, they switched the credit card number and wrote up a new contract with him, and that was it. So I didn't have to be a part of this. You never really, as you sell a business, want to leave any tails kind of untapped. I haven't really heard from him since the sell, like since escrow went through.
It's probably a good thing.
It's an amazing thing because I'm available. I'm happy to if there's anything missing. I did make sure to kind of pass on everything at once because, but it went very smooth. And Flippa has been great also in the escrow kind of stage process because again, I've never done the escrow.com procedure. It's been very useful. Also makes perfect sense. Just flew by.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We've been chatting a ton. I always like to ask one question at the end. I don't know if you watched any other videos. I always ask the same question at the end. So I hope you're ready because this is like a little offshoot one.
I'll take it.
Because I'm always talking to everyone. Everyone I talk to, like we kind of live digital lives of some sort. So we all kind of have these interesting day-to-day lives. So I always like to know, like, what does your perfect day look like, Alex?
My perfect day. Now we're gonna get a little bit of personal territory.
Yeah, I just like to know. I like to dig in. Who are the humans of Flippa? What's your perfect day?
Wow.
You got a busy life. You're running businesses. You got a family.
Let me just tell you something. Okay, this is very different than 99.999% of your general audience because I do things a little differently. But I wake up at 5:15, and then I go to the gym around 6 till 6:45. That's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. I'm not saying that I've perfected that routine, but thank God. I just got a cold actually, so today didn't happen. But I work out for 45 minutes. Then I go do my spiritual work, which involves we're not going to go into details of that, but in the prayer and meditation that I do in the mornings, and there's the ritual bath called mikvah, if you'd like to look it up. Wikipedia, and then I
get into Judaism on another video.
Then I learned for an hour with my study partner, Talmud, ancient texts, and then I help my wife with kids to get them on the bus to school. I have 3 boys, thank God, and then I get to my work, and so that happens usually around 10 o'clock in the morning. So I guess in work-wise, I start a little later than some people, but at that point,
you're living a whole day and before most people are awake.
Exactly, yeah. But you have to because nobody's ever done anything successful in life as been sleeping in every morning, and you got to start early. You got to push yourself. And throughout the day, I mean, sometimes I work remotely, sometimes I go to an office, and my vision of what I'm working towards right now is to also focus in on creating business, because I really had a good experience with Flippa. I'm not trying to just flatter anyone because there's no reason. But my old partner and I have kind of started working on building businesses specifically to sell on Flippa or the like. And the idea behind it is that, we believe that, 12 to 18 months businesses that are not just kind of like a drop shipping run, like a Hail Mary that you're trying to kind of put up there in front of people, but something that you invested in and built as a business in every little step from the beginning, from the inception, before you registered the domain. You build as a business to sell, then it could be very successful. So that's what we're working on right now. He's in Columbus, Ohio, so I don't see him in person every day, but that's kind of what we're working towards. And there's a lot of opportunities with this, I think, with Flippa in particular, and with other platforms where you can list your business and people buy these things, and if you're able to do this, sometimes you could build several at a time and diversify your risks. And you have to do it smart. I mean, I've built even though Artletica didn't have sales, it was built like a business. And I recommend everyone kind of have that mentality when they do these things. And then at noon, I eat lunch.
So I build a few businesses, then finally I eat lunch. By midnight, at noon, I'm done with that.
Then I got some more prayer, learning, services, spending time with family, just enjoying life, man. You gotta do your best.
Exactly. No, I like that. I'm always impressed by how much work everyone I talk to puts in, not only the work, but also, and I've said this on other videos because it constantly strikes me as crazy, but like almost everybody that I talk to, I always ask the same question, and like some sort of like physical part is part of everyone's day, whether it's like going on a walk or going to the gym or something. Like it's kind of interesting because when I first started talking to everybody, I never really expected literally everybody to have that as part of like their day. Because you go on Flippa, you assume everyone's like a computer nerd, right? You're like, oh yeah,
right. Well, we
roll
sit
out of bed,
in front
get on
of
your
the computer for
computer.
so long, you got to move up a little,
Yeah, but maybe that's part of like, maybe I'm finding the secret of success, because like literally everyone I talk to, part of their day is, it's not just like, oh, I get up and sit on my computer for 10 hours. It's like, oh, I get up, at some point, maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's midday, maybe it's the end of the day, like I get some sort of exercise. And I always find that interesting because it's just, I didn't expect that from a bunch of people who essentially live their lives in front of a computer.
It's true. Well, the ones that you end up talking to probably made some successful sales. And those guys know that if you really want to get things done, you have to be functional. And to be functional, to function well, to maximize your capacity, you need to have a routine, and you need to take care of your body. Because I don't know if you noticed, but when you don't work out, you kind of like get, or whatever, any exercise, even the walk, right? If you just become stale, you become sleepy, you don't focus well. Yep. So I know a lot of successful people, and everyone's doing something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always like actually, it was a term they used to use at my gym back when I lived in California. How you do anything is how you do everything. I don't know if you've heard that before, but it's basically just saying like, if you're the type of person who's going to like take the full 2 minutes to brush their teeth, you're probably the type of person who's going to do their work like all the way to the best. But if you're the type that cuts corners on things, you're probably going to cut corners on everything. So, if you're the type who works hard at your business, you're the type who works hard on, keeping yourself healthy.
Sure. 100%.
Well, anyhow, after all these words of advice, Alex, as always, I'm happy to catch up with you. Thank you for joining us.
You too, Ben. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'll be looking for whenever you got that next business to sell on Flippa.
You'll be getting a call.
I'm sure I'll be getting hundreds of emails from you. So thank you so much.
I don't have your number. Yes, you'll be getting an email.
Fantastic, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.